Good morning. Welcome back to the Miss Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best. We have James from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel.
Hey.
Y'all, we're here to go over the second episode of Surviving Mormonism. For those who may be watching on a cable platform, YouTube TV, Cox, Xfinity, AT&T, DirecTV, whatever the fuck exists. I don't see this show on my DVR. I don't know that they're gonna keep airing it. James is right. It's likely because the Mormons sue for everything, which we've learned watching this show.
Yep.
So it's on Peacock. That's how I got this episode. The third episode is there also, but I didn't want to do it with this one because this one was a little heavy, but not too heavy. So just explaining that to anybody who's interested in watching. Also, please click the link in the description of the video. We do a lot of lives on James's channel, such as Love and Marriage Huntsville, Bell Collective, Salt Lake City, the Braxtons. I feel like there's some. No, that's all you have right now.
Real Housewives of Potomac, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah. Well, Potomac.
Yeah, it's very much that. Married to Medicine, hurry up and get here.
That's why I forget them, because if the season's not memorable, Lord. But moving forward, and I look forward to discussing BravoCon, which we'll probably discuss on James's channel, because there's a lot with my shows that I cover. It was the Hot Mess Express from the Valley to Beverly Hills to Housewives of Miami. The clips are insane. To New Jersey. Every show I covered, everyone acted a fool at some point at BravoCon. Why?
I don't know how they're not organizing it the way it usually is organized. I think they're just so excited to have it back that it's just all over the place. A couple of your subscribers reached out to me asking me if I would give an opinion on Mary Cosby's TLC documentary. So for those of you who asked me, yes, I will be mentioning it. I don't know if I'm going to do a separate video. I don't know if I'm going to include it in the updates, but I will give you my opinion on it. It's not very big, but since y'all asked, I will do it because I love Mary Cosby. I do. So, you know.
I mean, I think we all like Mary. The thing of it is, even if Mary's accused of what she's accused of, she's not accused of doing some of the things we're going to discuss in this documentary.
Right.
It's one of those things. And for those who are wondering, I do cover TLC shows, and I will cover Mary Cosby's televised documentary when it airs in, I believe, February. But like James, I'm probably not going to have much to say unless they come out with some shit that I did not already know. And based on what I've looked into about this program that TLC has put together, I didn't see much that we don't already know and hasn't already been addressed.
Yeah, we're just doing it for the content purposes only. That's all I'm going to do.
Kevin says, hi, you too. Good morning, Kevin. Not staying, just stopping by. I haven't watched any episode after episode 1 aired. All 3 episodes were available on Peacock a day after. Yes, I noticed that. That's why I'm here. I thought it would stay on TV, but it looks like it's going to stay on Peacock. But you know, it's not bad, but it's one of those things where just make sure if you got any of your own traumas when you watch it, take a step, take a break, have all mechanisms near you.
Please, because it's very deep. Yeah, it is very deep. It is very triggering. I worried about a lot of my friends, a lot of my family who watch me watch these shows, just so they can keep up with us. It is very hard to watch some of these things, even as somebody who has not experienced any of these things. It is very hard to even watch this. So, I just, I pray for people. I do, because there's a special place in hell for some of these predators. I'm just going to say that now.
The documentary will probably be new, but I think people also underestimate Salt Lake City's still very new. Not a lot of people know them outside of Bravo still. And Mary, I feel like they're doing this to come for Mary. I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel this way because this could have been done so much longer ago.
Well,
But
see, it's old, and I think this is where I think right now. This because it's funny you said, and I was going to say this on my unpopular opinion. I feel like this documentary is coming out so they can bring her down. I do agree with that, but also because she's getting so popular and people are giving her the positivity because we see past all of these allegations. We don't care that she married her step grandfather. At least I don't. I don't care about that because we don't see him on the show. We don't see their marriage. We don't see anything about it. We think, allegedly he got somebody else and they just have an agreement. A lot of marriages are built like that. That's how we see it. I mean, it's alleged. I'm not saying it's true, but there's nothing that they can tell me. Mary is money hungry. We see her talk about fashions, money, clothes, jewelry. We already know this.
I also want to encourage people also, we think and we have inference. We do not know what will be in the documentary. So there's also a piece of me that's just like, you know what? I'm going to just go into it and watch it. And hopefully I'll see something worthwhile. I probably won't, but we can only hope for something new. Kevin says, to be honest, after Heather and the iGate situation, her spearheading the documentary is pure malarkey. Sorry, not sorry. It is, and that's something we're going to talk about. I'd also like to encourage people ahead of time earlier into this live, because I have made the comparison in the first episode of this, comparing the culty aspect of Scientology to the culty aspect of Mormonism. And for some reason, someone took that as me saying that Mormons do personality tests in Scientology. I know I did not say that. I think James knows, he was here, that I did not say that.
You didn't say that, no.
If you're going to watch things on religion, and especially on my channel, the way that I move, pay the fuck attention before you leave a comment.
Absolutely, because what we were talking about,
people attack each other, because that's a serious problem in this country right now in general, and why America is low-key a joke and a political mess.
Yep.
Because people like to place blame and attack shit before they even listen and process what they've heard. So please don't do that on this channel. I'll always be nice, I'll always be respectful, but if you're gonna be here and comment, make sure you heard what the fuck I said before you do so, and in that order.
And to be fair, because I rewatched the video, when we did speak on that, it had nothing to do with the Mormon religion. It had everything to do with the therapy that is being provided for them. It had nothing to do with that. So for that
research.
Yeah, no, because I didn't remember you saying that. That's why I was like, wait, what part did she say that? And then what they could be referencing was the counseling part that you did speak on, because you have the credentials to do so. That part is completely separate from the religion. And let me be clear with y'all. Psychology and religion go hand in hand, but idealistically, they're different. Mm-hmm. The two have nothing to do with each other, but they use it as a form to manipulate people's minds. That's why when they say religion is organized, that is where that inference comes from. Because day-to-day people, we learn that there's so many ways that people are created outside of religion, and how people move outside of religion, that people believe that there's no way I would be a living, breathing person, have all these things, if religion didn't play a factor. That's how we all look at life. Everyone is allowed to think differently. Everyone's allowed to be different. That's the whole point of this world. Mm-hmm. Whatever you believe in is as long as you're not harming people, as long as you're not doing wrong to people, it does not matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter. So yeah, I wanted to get, because I rewatched it, because I was like, wait, I don't even remember you saying that. That's why I was like, well,
you know what it is, when you cover something that is controversial, which religion will always be controversial, because there are a lot of good Mormons that do exist, that don't engage in any of the nastiness that we're going to discuss, that don't do anything shady. They're literally just trying to live their life right and have a connection with their higher power, but then it looked like there's more bad than good right now. This ain't just that. There's a small handful of us. After this shit, there's more than a small handful
of y'all. There's more than a small handful of y'all.
And crazy. But I do feel like, especially with where I live geographically, and I do look at my YouTube stats and those who watch, I'm sure some people in the religion may come across the video and just find anything to feel offended by. And I encourage everyone to see the link in the description, because I don't want anyone attacking their religion or anything, or just talking about the negative of a religion, which all religions have. Whether it's the Baptist church, or you Islamic, or all religions have somebody fucking up
Well, here's the thing. It's all the common reality about religions is that they all sensibility of a power of control. That's just all of what it is. And once you have a clear conscious of that, and once you see it, which is what I believe Heather is doing, I believe Heather is really realistically saying the control factor of the religion and how it's influenced around the people who want to follow it and actually want to be good. They have a mindset of being controlled. That is where she is trying to escape out the people who leave the religion because it interferes with who they want to be. And I think that that's what she's trying to do, is to have those people speak, because they're not given the rights to speak because it's attached to this religion that has this, inference or this, popularity factor of being a great religion amongst America. Because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, Mormonism has probably one of the most controversial between good and bad than any other religion out there.
I think that's true. I think that's very true. We can't really get into why because we don't have enough time, but
we don't. Yeah.
The highly true. Very good analysis of that. Y'all, this episode we learn about Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith is kind of like, so again, I'm sorry, I'm using a Scientology reference. Those who don't like it, I'm fucking sorry that this religion aligns with cult like studies and behaviors. But L. Ron Hubbard was the creator guy of Scientology who claimed that he had this special affinity to see and understand how to achieve the ultimate power or something, being human greatness. I don't quite know how it works, but then she's coming at us with Joseph Smith for Mormonism, who I guess was the reason from how she described it, that Mormons go on missions, which they are known for all over the world, going on missions as a way to fulfilling what they do, who they are, helping them to get into heaven, things like that. We saw Lisa Barlow's son very serious about his mission. So I'm like, okay, so this guy, Mormonism did not start in Utah. This guy, Joseph Smith, was in New York, not in New York City, but he was in New York, in a city in New York State. It looks like he did some weird stuff. He claimed to have gotten access to angels or something, and he basically came back and fulfilled his mission. But the actual reason he came back is, according to Heather and stuff that I already knew prior to even wanting to recap this show, is he did something with an underage girl while in New York. And the good townspeople were like, hold on a minute now. You can have your beliefs and talk about you touching angels and having friendships and have spoke to God. But in no way does you speaking to God make it okay that you're going to be trying to do shit with a child. So those people had a backbone, unlike Utah. And they decided they was going to have it to where he was not allowed in town. They ran his ass out of town, quite literally. Heather tried to make it sound nice. But what I got is he was ran out of his town and county, and he decided to come and settle in Utah and continue the same things. So that is how the Mormons and their mission and some of their founding fathers' beliefs came about. I've heard about Joseph Smith. I've never heard anything good about him. Honestly, I feel like the only people that have heard good about him are people who have been conditioned and raised in the Mormon church. I think people going into Mormonism who did not grow up in it may say, let me align with this, like Lisa Barlow, and not just be so deep in the church. Like, it gives that type of energy. But before we get into the, as James calls it, the meat and potatoes, do you have anything to add about Joseph Smith? Scary person.
Here's the thing. It really bothers me, and I'm gonna say it like this, how, instead of us really paying attention to what was problematic about that whole situation, we took it as he moved the religion to another place so that way he could still practice being inappropriate, and that's something that people chose to follow versus the actual virtue of what it's supposed to be. Because when you realize it, we're saying that this religion did not start off in pure intent the way it's projected to be.
Yep, basically it started in some mess.
Yes. And so,
It's
and
hard
that's
to see
where,
that. Crazy.
yeah. And if anybody is objective, that's why I say y'all have to understand the control factor of it. It may have been a human moment for him, but he didn't feel guilty about it in the same ways. A lot of you who practice this religion feel guilty about the things that are just natural human things, like masturbation, like drinking, like all these things that people feel guilty about, when the spirit leader that brought the religion to Utah did not feel guilty about being with an underage girl. So you mean it's so that's why I'm saying it's a control factor. Why was that okay in his mind? And he's following this religion, but y'all take sanctity. Like when we look at this show, the show that Heather Gay is on, and when we look at someone like Brittany, who didn't want people to know that she drink, but because she feels guilty about it, but we see her drink wine. It's like, okay, you're human. Humans are going to do things
They
that's
must have
silly.
forgot that part in the Bible where the water and the wine and that whole
Yes,
situation.
but the thing about it is
That's
she
why I
feels
don't.
guilty. Yeah.
That's why I don't. So I grew up Muslim, but I also grew up in a Baptist church every Sunday because my family ran it, and I didn't really have an option outside of that. But one thing I've learned is every religion, even Islam, has Nation of Islam, Radical Islam, Traditional Islam. Then you got Christianity with all these different denominations and forms of churches. They all have their own interpretations, they like to say, but the way I view it is you have all changed up the good book in some way to fit it to the narrative of whatever belief you want your congregation to believe. So for that reason, that's why I don't go to church. I don't go to the masjid. I pray. I keep to myself and have my own because of stuff like this. Because
Yeah.
all these people like to change it up for their convenience. But the fact that people believe it is even crazier. But Heather's been talking about her friend Shane, who was a close friend of hers that she had after she got divorced and stuff, but was still active in her religion. Shane has a husband named Ben that she's been talking about for a couple episodes. It sounds like when Heather got to know Ben, after he got with her friend Shane, it sounds like when she Googled him, which you telling on yourself for your own show, Miss Lisa Barlow Part 2. Y'all all do the same shit because who says when they meet someone just off rip, like especially if you're meeting someone like not in a work environment and you're not dating them, right? Why are you just Googling them? Like, okay, if you're gonna do a background check, do a background check, but to just be Googling him, that was a little odd. And she says she found a video or an interview of Ben speaking about the abuse that he dealt with within the Church of Latter-day Saints, LDS, that is the Mormon church, just in case people don't know their name. And Heather said she didn't feel good about it and just wanted to forget about it and ignore it. Now, years later, when she needs to check, she's deciding to call this man to discuss the trauma that she previously judged him for. I understand that in some way she is being authentic and accountable with herself for prejudging someone, which you should not do, but most people who have been in religion do it the worst. Yep. But I still can't help but feel like having him part of this program was more for her than for him. He's already spoken out. He's already been and participated, as we're going to learn, and getting some type of accountability or at least taking notice to this. Like, you didn't do anything until after a couple bad seasons of Salt Lake City and people like, can the bitch just write a book or something if she gon', and then you did it, which was smart. But I don't know. I always look at Heather with the side eye with how she moves. But we do get to meet Ben finally. He was very reluctant to come on camera. I do respect him as a victim for coming forward. That is extremely scary to do, whether it's in the law or just telling a person. So I respect him for it. But he speaks about how he was born into the Mormon church. He's one of 8. I'd be looking at his dad and mom. I'm sure their relationship has its issues too, because the hell. But he is one of 8 kids. He's the 5th of 8 kids. He says that he started dealing with SA at the age of 4. He says that it went on consistently from 4 to 9. So that's about 5 years, which is just sad. It sounds like it wasn't just abuse that he had to endure. It sounds like he had to watch other kids be abused as well. It sounds like the abuse included him being put with other kids at time. It was really just vile and disgusting in every way that you can imagine, especially the fact that he was so young when it started. I don't know. I'm not a parent or anything, but I did spend time from high school. I always worked in daycares, in my church daycare. I got paid. I loved it. But always worked in daycares. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. People will say, and my family, Amita raised me, Amita did this, that. So I can't imagine looking at a 4-year-old or really any, like, kids are so small when you look back. Like, I look back at pictures of myself at 17 and I'm like, my God, I look 12. Like, how can you look at a child and want to do that? That part I don't get, but that's a good thing because that means I ain't got the mind of the devil, so I'm cool on that. But it's just unfortunate that he dealt with that for so long. And when he said it started at 4 and he's a boy, and he wasn't saying he was just molesting and stuff. He's saying there was actual other things that happened as far as penetration wise. So I'm like, who was giving you your baths? Did they not notice, like, that you were in pain or sensitive, or did they not notice certain things about your body? And I'm not placing blame on his parents, but I'm just saying, when I was 4, when my siblings were 4, male and female, we didn't just bathe ourselves. Somebody bathed us.
Right.
So I don't know what happened with that. But basically, Ben, he went through hell. The man who abused him was part of the church. I'm just going to call him by his last name, Mr. Hurtado. It just sounded like it was sad. And he was fearful to speak out about this because he had the fear that he would be excommunicated, because from the moment he was born into this church, and that was indoctrinated into his thought process. So he really struggled with that. Before we move forward to more of Ben's story, I just want to get your opinion, James, on how you felt about, like, what you learned about that, because I thought that was crazy. Like, he was young as hell.
It was. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you fine.
No, it was crazy hearing this man's story and then understanding the age that he was. And the only thing that came to my mind, once again, as I said, control. It's about having control. And a lot of y'all would think, well, okay, well, why would you want to control a young boy at 4-9? We heard a process term called grooming. Grooming is what people do when they want control over a human being. And sometimes when it comes to young men, the best way to control them in a mindset that in psychological terms is to violate them, is to tell them, I have power over you and I'm going to show you physically by doing this. That's what I've seen in a lot of documentaries about control and what people do to control other human beings. And a lot of y'all labeled it as taking a man's manhood. That's what the term a lot of people use to kind of relate it. But at the end of the day, it is horrible to what these kids, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to control these kids, and because it wasn't just him, it was all the other children. It was girl children, boy children. And I don't understand the mindset of someone like that, a grown adult who has children himself, who has a wife. I don't understand how you think in your mind that that's okay to do to other children. So it was so, like, literally my heart broke for this young man, because I know that couldn't be easy to admit, because most men do not admit their sexual trauma. They don't, because they feel like it's a shameful thing if a man was touched and violated. They have all these connotations that people put on it because they want to judge them for it. But then it's like, and then I always get on adults who do that, because it's like, well, where were you? Like, as an adult, why is it not okay for this person to express this without you judging them for it? Because children are supposed to be innocent, right? So why is this okay? Like, I don't understand. And you brought up a good point. Where were the parents? Why was this not noticed?
If he would have said, and he tried to, you could see that Ben is still trying to protect his parents, because there was stuff throughout it when he was explaining it where he was like, where I'm from, we just played outside until we, I don't give a flying, you know what? I started taking the bus in 4th grade and was outside and all of that. That's 9, 10 years old.
Right.
Prior to that, I was driven everywhere with the chaperone. Like, so I just, even playing outside, like if I played outside alone, it was I grew up in a house in Oakland. So it was like we had a gate around the house. Like you couldn't get in the gate. I couldn't get out the gate. I had people watching me from the porch. You could see the whole yard front and back from the windows in the house. So I was watched. But to let your 4-year-old just roam around like that is crazy. And
well, to think that you could trust them with the adults in the church, and then this happens to them, and they don't feel in any way to, because I'm sure there were some behavioral changes somewhere up in there where I'm sure that there was. So the fact that the parents, but we don't know because we don't have the parents' point of view, so we don't know
no
what
excuse for the parents. When they
there
found
isn't.
out about what happened to their child the first time, they didn't want to, we'll get to that later, but they didn't want to do shit until there was proof from somebody else. So they didn't even believe their own child. They had to see it from someone else before trusting their child. Ben's still trying to protect his parents, but I think it's okay to admit, Ben, I doubt he'll watch this. Your parents failed you.
Yep.
You don't expect shit from a church. And I know that sounds so bad, but if I go to church, I'm going for comfort or to feel good. I'm not expecting anything from the members of the church. I'm not expecting anything from the pastor, the bishops, nobody. Because if you really read the word closely and get in tune with it, it tells you you're not supposed to worship and be praising your pastor and your preacher. You could sacrifice in other ways and give in other ways. You ain't got to do what these people telling you to do. So it's one of those things where I think, and it's common, especially in American society, as we know from our stupid Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. That's bullshit. But it's common in American society, it seems, to just feel like schools, churches, all of this are places that are safe. And now in recent years, schools are dealing with mass shootings. Churches are consistently targeted, or you have people of every religion in churches and religious spaces coming out talking about abuse. So it's like, maybe it's time society to wake the fuck up and realize, like, you cannot just trust stuff based on the location or because it's religious. But I digress. Ben then speaks about realizing about how he realized he was attracted to men, which I was wondering when they were going to catch this. So for those who don't know, there is a very high percentage of members of LGBTQ community as a whole, gay, lesbian, trans, non-binary, everything in between. There's a huge percentage of them, unfortunately, that have experienced trauma in the form of some form of physical and or sexual abuse. Yeah. And yes, sometimes that does confuse people and impact their sexuality or make them question it. Saucy Santana spoke about this publicly on Love and Hip Hop a couple seasons ago, because you have to wonder. And for those who are sensitive or like to be woke, I have nothing against LGBTQ community. I've been with some chicks myself, as quiet as it's kept. My friends, lots of them, not just James, date men who are men. But we can't ignore statistics just because a certain population is sensitive to the truth. And the truth of the matter is that there's some people, yes, who just know they're gay. It's your sexuality. You cannot change it. And there are other people who also have that same experience, but question their true sexuality because of traumas. Because once you experience trauma, most of what you do in life, even stuff not connected to it, gay, straight, or whatever, is a response. So I can understand and commend him for talking about that publicly, because I think a lot of gay men specifically shy away from discussing their traumas. And I think it's because sometimes the public and the community that's not gay is always so critical of that community and judgy that they probably don't feel safe to speak about it. Because if you have a trauma in your life, but you know you've always been gay, and then you tell someone about that trauma and they say, well, that's why you're gay, which a lot of people like to say, you're not going to feel the safest to come out. So while part of the statistic is true, can't put it all on him, but I respected him for speaking on it.
Yeah, because, and that's just not in that religion. It's in all people. It's in all situations. I think us coming from the Black community, we also have a similar experience with a lot of Black people not being okay with it. A lot of Black people not, wanting to admit that sexual trauma could be the reasoning or just naturally be a reason, because they don't want their men naturally to be that way. And I think that that's, speaks to something, because I can tell y'all my own personal story is I never was connected with being gay from birth to 25. Did not connect with it at all. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. I just didn't feel it. Like, I honestly was who I was. But there came a certain point, because mine, when I say mine was a choice, it was a choice of like, it can't be that bad. That's how I look at it. It can't be that bad. And I'm like, let me try it. I happen to like it.
I think
That's
what
it.
people get confused with the choice thing is that for heterosexual men, it's not a choice. Like, you pretty much know if you that. But I feel like with gayness in the Black community and just in general, like really in society, because we're trained to view it as not normal. I think that a lot of people take a while to come to it, but
for as long as you know me, have I ever did something not normal? Like, for as long as you know me, I've never done. Okay, here's the thing. When I say not normal, I mean like I was never a kid that was stereotypically Black. If you wanted, like, I didn't do what my friends did. I was always different, right? So a lot of times when kids are different, they want to attach that to them because that would explain the fact that they're different. So for me, I always stuck to that because I thought it was funny as a kid. I always thought that was funny that people wanted to attach that to me because it would explain, why is James so different? Why does James speak like that? And to be honest, if y'all really wanted to answer, I had no room but to be different in my household because my mama said I can't be like this. I can't be like that. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. So what can you do? So I just found different things. I'm like, okay, so my mama gonna be okay with me doing this, so that's fine. I'll just do that. My mama gonna be okay with me getting a job because I'm making money. My mom's gonna be okay with me taking honors English because I speak well. So I did things that were different because when it came to Black kids in honors English, there weren't much in my high school. I think I was one of 5 in the entire class. So
what was wrong with your class? I was filled with them.
Well, because here's the thing. Didn't nobody want to deal with Miss Drybray.
Nobody did. Damn, I said maybe she kicked it because she used to be putting people out. They might
she did. Like but she didn't play. She didn't play that. Nobody wanted to deal with her. But I wanted to take her class because that's what my mom instilled in me. So it was kind of like, but didn't nobody want to deal with Miss Drybray? Like, we used to hate when you didn't pass the exit exam because she was the teacher who had to teach it. So I got stuck with her with that too my first year at Mount Eden. So it was like, yeah. So it's like, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I wish people would stop attaching when a kid is different that's the reason they're different. You know what I'm saying? And I think that with the Mormon religion, when it comes to assault and when it comes to things like that, I think they want to say, oh, this child is different. They want to attach something to them. And I think that's where this section versus, no, they were harmed. It's not that they're different. They were harmed. And you have to understand what that plays into in their ideal life today. And
that's the Mormon church. That's what I noticed more and more watching it, because I knew that this was happening in the church prior to this. Right. But what I've noticed is they don't care. They want you to go through the worst of the worst and still expect you to have the exact same comfort, belief, and trust in the higher power. But the people connecting them to the higher power and how they connect to the higher power have broken their trust. The Mormon church,
no, it's compromising them. That's really,
like the Mormon church at the end of this, if I don't see Heather continue with this or use her access and her privilege to take it to Congress, because there's no reason that Utah should be a church that is known publicly as a church that's ran by the state, that is harming children in a way that almost sounds so organized that it could almost be trafficking, which we'll get to why I feel that way in a little bit. But you can't get away with all of this and have people using religion as a way to manipulate and harm children, women, because she's just talking about the kids and stuff, y'all. Like, there's the women. The women also went through hell. The children is probably the worst of the worst, but these people brutalize everybody. But Ben does say he came out at 23, and shortly after he came out, he went to conversion therapy. Conversion therapy, as we learned from the first episode, it's like third-party company. So it's basically the same company. They try to make it seem like something different. But Ben went, He says that he thought that him being gay was due to his abuse, and he thought that if he healed from the abuse, that he could go back to being straight, which is why we talked about what we talked about previously. It's an unfortunate thought, but again, if you're taught that something you feel and cannot naturally help is not normal and not accepted by society, will also get you put into hell and excommunicated from your family, you're going to look for reasons to get away from it. You know what I mean? So I can't blame him for that, because it's all that he knew. And I do see sometimes people in LGBTQ community being extra hard on each other. Like, why would you go back and stuff like that? Like, because again, that's all he knew. So, but Heather makes a comment about the doctrine. And this is where I'm like, Heather, you know this much about Mormon religion? If I was you on Salt Lake City and people didn't like me, I would turn and deflect on this shit at every moment that I could to remind people, yeah, I may be stupid and a pick me with these hoes, but when it comes to the religion, I have some type of gall and strength, because she did get away from it. But Heather says that the Mormon doctrine says that when you die, you're no longer gay. So a lot of the men who are gay in their church and are forced, they call the wives, if they're gay, their eternal partners, which is like weird, because you're just together because of that, not because you want her, which is crazy. But apparently, according to Mormons, this is the dumbest thing I've heard in a long time. Once you dead, you're not gay no more. Well, who the fuck would have thought? You're dead.
And
you're
how,
fucking
and
dead. You're literally dead. When you're dead, you're not gay. You're not straight. You're not breathing. You're not black. You're not white. You gone. Like,
right. Like, why does that matter now?
Why does it matter? And then to say, and this was the funniest thing, they call it an earthly affliction.
Oh my gosh.
What? Have it. First of all, bravo. Y'all could have put the energy you put in the Salt Lake City into Dubai, because number one, y'all wanted to talk about Mary for 3 seasons. She got tired of y'all and left.
Which I would have too.
Right. Then she leaves, and we slowly get back to the Mormon stuff, because Lisa's son and the whole drama between Lisa and Heather, because of how Heather speaks out against the church, and it comes back a little bit. But I'm kind of looking like, bravo, what the fuck were you thinking? Because I just said this to James, and I wasn't going to say it on here, but I've always thought John Barlow gave me creepy vibes. He's really involved in his church. The sons are involved. I don't know what those kids have seen. I don't know what those kids have been through. And I'm wondering if that's why Lisa gets so like almost manic when it comes to her kids being brought up in this group or the church mentioned. Whitney, she clearly has so much trauma that, you know, she married this very inflated man who's much older than her.
Well,
like
it's Brittany, not even that.
Brittany acts is erratic, and how her family was freaking out, the hiding wine. I'm sure NBC knew about the Mormon allegations, which have been around for decades, and they still chose to go forward with the show.
You know, here's my thing, because that's not even, well, I get what you're saying, like totally, like I think that's what kept some level of interest. But Bravo came to Salt Lake City because of Mary and her situation. It just so happened that Mary knew these other women that connected and had something else.
No. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is a network that has aired. Their parent network has aired stuff on the Mormon Church before. They may have
I know that
around Mary, but they have the final say so, and we're very intentional with choosing someone who left.
I agree
with the bad stuff. So I don't feel like using Mary and building a cast around her. I feel like that's giving her too much power for the earlier season, and they did lean heavily into the fact that everybody in this show.
That's where, but that's where I'm trying to say the focus. That's why the focus was on her so much. I get what you're saying, and my point was it was so focused on her that I feel like every time Heather did try to bring it up, the foreshadow. One, it was 2 things. One, they were trying to get the heat off Jen Shaw too. That was one thing, and then the second thing was, anytime Heather did, it was kind of focused based on that she did things that made her not Mormon. It was kind of like they were trying to take the focus off of all of the things that could be negative about that religion by solely basing it on what one person did wrong to get her excommunicated. The same thing about Whitney. Whitney left her husband to get with her current husband. and he left his wife to get. So it was kind of like it was mainly focused on them as individuals of what they could have done wrong that excommunicated from the church, and that
I'm
got them
getting
away from that
so
negative.
genuinely tired of networks, people, and all of the things finding cute ways to make it okay. They knew what they were doing, and it's not okay.
It's not.
And if I find one fucking person on this show who is involved or knew of anything shady, I'm not joining you on it. The same thing with the Braxtons. I'm not commenting on Trina no more. And if they bring the show back and she's there, I'm done. I don't want to support nobody that supports children dealing with SA.
Yep.
No kid should have to deal with it. So that's why I was watching this and I'm just like, Heather, because she admitted also that there were like rumors she heard about while in the church and all of this. I respect Heather for at least speaking out, so she does get a pass with me on that. But the rest of them hoes, I'm looking at them with a side eye, because y'all can say what you want about Mary Cosby, but Mary Cosby's cult is accused of believing that she's the Lord and they donating. She ain't pulling nobody by their teeth, excommunicating people.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing.
She's not doing that. So I'm like,
but then when you think about it, that's another thing I wanted to say just now. And when Whitney accused her and Robert Sr. of being predators, it was like, oh, y'all have your nerve.
Right.
Y'all have y'all nerve to even accuse that lady of being like that when y'all literally come from the situations of. That's why I said it's like that whole first season was centered around how bad this woman could be. One, because she was a Black woman, I believe that, and two, her church is just as, like, if y'all really want to put it into perspective, her church, her religion has just as many rumors as probably the Mormon, but it's not. But the fact that y'all solely focused on that, it was like, okay. And then now here this show comes out.
Church has rumors. The Pentecostal religion ain't got all of that going on.
Well, I know they don't, like, not in all areas.
The Mormons, apparently, it's looking like they like the water in every church is not drinkable.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, why would y'all villainize this? That's how I'm saying. That's why I'm like, Salt Lake City was produced in the wrong way to villainize this one lady, the lady that y'all built this show around. But then y'all wanted to turn blind eyes and make it on the individual doing bad things when the truth be told.
To me, it's much bigger than that. That could be the small fish. But in my opinion, this is a state ran by the church. Everybody that you were going to hire there in some way would be controversial. Most places have the common sense to not mix religion with just day to day. It's like those things they say, don't talk about religion, politics, certain stuff at the table. Bravo did that. Now the foolery is the foolery. I'm not surprised, though. I wouldn't be surprised if people like Brittany, the way she acted, I wouldn't be surprised if she went through something. I'm curious to see how the ladies react after Surviving Mormonism airs, like, or if they'll talk about it at the reunion. But to move forward, we learn about Ben's story that he does eventually tell the bishop. The bishop in the Mormon religion, it sounds like you call them for everything. It sounds like they like your tutor, your life coach, your therapist, which is crazy. Which is crazy. But he told his bishop, his dad and other high-ranking Mormons, because it sounds like Ben's dad was extremely high-ranking, and they went to Jess Hurtado, I believe his name was, house, the alleged abuser. And of course, Jess denied it and was like, yeah, tell Ben to give me a call, which is a manipulation tactic that a lot of predators will do because he knows that Ben will be too afraid to call him.
Yep.
But Ben is like, that's it. They dropped the investigation. That was it. So the next thing we see is the television show us a statement from Ben's bitch ass daddy talking about things never went down the way that Ben is saying. I'm so done with these parents. I'm not even going to keep roasting them or giving them the attention that they deserve, because as quiet as it's kept, y'all, you working on your 3 heavens, but there might be 3 forms of hell that you're making your way to before you get to heaven.
Right.
If you want to do it. I don't know if y'all got 1 hell, 2 hell, 3 hells, but whatever the worst one is, y'all will be under that one. Because how dare you release a fucking statement saying that not everything said was true, instead of please give my family respect and we commend our son. Please do not judge my child, but instead this is what you do. So, okay, Ben's parents. But later on, we learned that a woman named Ginger, who used to be a part of the Mormon church, sued the church and they ended up settling. But through the settlement, the church never had to admit fault that this woman was paid. That's why I say whenever there's a settlement, I don't trust it. I prefer if you at least let a jury and a verdict make a decision. But when you settle before we could get to that, to me, I automatically look at people like they're guilty in cases like this. Now, if it's something like a different type of a case, like a civil or, you know, some sort of crazy shit, fine. But like, if you're settling on cases that have to do with sexual assault, you did it. I don't care what nobody says. You did something you shouldn't have done, because people don't just get accused of that. That's what I'm saying.
Well, here's the thing. Why settle? But here's the thing. If there's no guilt, then why settle?
That's another true thing too. Psychology says, and there's proof of people in prison who sat in prison for years and years and years and claimed their innocence, even though they were told, well, if you say that you did it, we'll let you out on parole. And they won't do it, because when you're truly innocent and have not done something, you will fight the fucking death of you, because you know that you can, you know, fight it. So that was a very good point to bring up.
It's just we live in a society and a system and a government that would rather see someone do the time than actually be innocent of the crime. I think that that's just realistically what the society we live in. And it's unfortunate, it really is, to want to put something
behind that. I encourage you, if you're interested in stuff like that, to look up private prisons and how all the state jails you see, California State Department of Corrections, is owned by a private company.
I know. Yeah,
everything is for money.
No, when I moved to Arizona and started doing criminology, I learned about that. Like, that's where it was like
California, we got the highest population of them too.
And like where you see a lot of the wealth come from, it comes from prisons. And it's like, who would have thought? Because you're thinking, and what I'm saying by government, I'm saying like people putting people in power to make people guilty. That's what I'm saying about government. It's not about, you know, that's why I don't haze too many prisoners, because are you really guilty of the crime that they're accusing you of?
Yeah, because 75% of them are not. But to finish out the statement, Ginger sued the church. They got the settlement. Ben sent this to his parents, and only after that did his parents believe him. And he was excommunicated and all this stuff at one point. But the church refused to turn everything over to the police. So there's a lot that came out that was shady. But essentially, the guy, Jess Hurtado, who essayed Ben, was excommunicated from the church. However, he is still allowed to attend the church and is still in the stake, or whatever they call it, of it, and people just aren't saying anything. Everybody in that church is a pussy. Everybody in that church is a coward. And everybody in that church should go straight to hell, however they got there. Because y'all know now that this person has done this and you still choose to accept him. You don't have to judge him. You can let God do that, but you also don't have to allow him in a church where kids still frequent. You still don't need to allow him in a community that kids can continue to be hurt. That's not okay. But I don't expect them to do anything right. And the Mormon church refuses to turn over their information to the police. So
it sounds like to me, Jess didn't get no prison time. There was no criminal investigation.
No, he's still free.
Money has its ways, is what I'm hearing as well.
He was a high stake member with the church, and if the church allows Jess to be found as liable, then the church is found as liable because they employed this person. They don't want to pay. They're worth billions, and they can't spare a couple million to get rid of this guy. Like, it's crazy to me. But I thought the Bible said money's the root of all evil. But okay, Church of Latter-day Saints. We move on to discuss the power of a bishop in the church, and we meet Bishop Nick Jones. Cool, handsome little white man.
He was. I was like, God damn.
I said, take me,
Lord. I said, Lord, have mercy. If I was single,
and
he was.
Some morals and ethics, which I love. So Nick Jones explains, and what we learned is Nick Jones publicly stepped down from his position as a bishop after 3 years. And he did it in the pulpit of a church during service. And he cited morals and ethics as his beliefs, which was smart. Because in Utah and in California, if you quit a job that pays you for moral and ethical beliefs, please don't come for me. Employment Development Department, you can get unemployment. Moving on. You didn't hear that here. He basically explained, and we learned that bishops have zero training. Now, in a traditional church setting, if you're meeting with a bishop, if you're meeting with a pastor, if you're meeting with a reverend, 9 times out of 10, they've gone to school and gotten a degree in theology. They've done the work. Now, it doesn't sound like they do that at all with the Mormon church in Utah. They're not trained on anything. They don't have any mediation skills. They have nothing. And that's the worst thing you could do, is when dealing with people's faith and also their problems while issuing advice. The bishops essentially have a hotline that they call, kind of like the whistleblower hotlines we all got at our jobs. Well, the Mormons have that, but not for its members. They have it for the bishops, who are supposed to relate to them what the members have told them in extreme situations. And then they're told how to handle it, how to navigate it, what to do, and all of that, which is crazy. Because honestly, I understand a bishop quit for his morals, but baby, if your morals was really intact the first time somebody said something to you about a child being abused, you would have took that baby and went to the police and said, fuck the church. What y'all gonna do? Punish me, write me up? If a kid comes to me and is like, and this has actually happened to a very close friend of mine, I'm very close with her family, and her niece came to me and was like, basically, the niece was being raised by my friend's mom, and the friend's mom had a boyfriend. So the boyfriend was doing stuff to her. Well, I say that little girl said something, and my friend's mom, and you know this person's mom, did nothing. So me and the friend, we tore him up. I made the little girl sleep in the room with me. He came in, tried to creep on her and touch her all of it. We jumped him. Like, we actually jumped him. The Hayward police had to come. It was a mess. But that's what you do when you think a kid's in danger. Like, if you think a kid's in danger, is it not up? Nigga, it's up. We're fighting. I'm throwing knives at you. I'm biting you, whatever to protect the baby. But okay, Bishop.
It's just, every time you tell me this story, it just reminds me of, like, the initial thought was for you to do it and try to get beyond you two and get to that child. That is crazy to me. That is insane. Like, there's somebody, like, not mentally okay if that's what you feel you need to do versus, yeah, I did it, I messed up, confess. But you trying to do it again. It's like crazy. And the thing about the bishop, I honestly, I agree with what you're saying.
It's like you respect him, but then at the same time,
yeah, you're like,
I need more accountability.
I need more accountability because as the bishop, you cannot, like, unless you were really scared to do anything and see why accept that position, because they're all supposed to trust you. They're all supposed to think you have their best interests at heart. And the best interest at heart was to protect that baby and immediately get her to safety, regardless of it. And I think that your guilty conscience is really why you step down versus...
Even if they didn't go to the police, call DFS.
Yes.
CPS, DCFS, whatever it's called in your state. You don't even have to give your fucking name or a number for follow-up. Make a complaint. That's what they're there for. Maybe if people made more complaints on kids that was actually going through shit, they would stop fucking up and going and getting the kids that don't need to be gotten, forgetting about the kids that do need to be taken away. Like, there's a lot that he could have done, but I respect him for at least speaking out now instead of never. But that's all that's all I can really do with it. But we learn about, I think it was called Kieran McConkie. It's a law firm that sued Heather on behalf of the Mormon church. They sue a lot of different companies, people who speak out, public figures who speak out against the Mormon church. They speak out. Not surprised, Scientology did the same thing to Leah Remini, suing her left and right, but Scientology will harass your ass. So I at least give the Mormon people that. They don't got people at your door taking pictures. They're not sending PIs after you, at least not yet, because I don't know what I'll hear next. But I feel like this law firm will be relevant in the next episode more so than this one. But we pretty much end the episode with Heather going over a bunch of SA victims and learning that from Nick that the church keeps a record of all of the people who've been assaulted or dealt with perversion or molestation, things like that in the church. I'm not going to go over too much of the end just for my own personal mental health. If you follow my channel, you understand some of my past. If you don't, I'm willing to explain it to those who want to privately message me or something. But I will say I empathize and I hear and I see every victim that they showed. It's unfortunate that so many people are dealing with this in a place that's supposed to be a place of worship and safety. But, you know, what can we do? We have one more episode of hell. I am going to probably recap it in a few days. I don't want to do it when we have like, because there's one of the days in a week. Wife Swap is gone. But there's one of the days in a week where we have Hell of Lives. I can't remember what day right now. I just can't.
It's usually when you say Hell of Lives, are you saying more than 3?
Yes. Like 3 or more, I feel like. But I feel like because Wife Swap
I don't think
gone,
I don't think that that's happening for a minute. I think that the most we do in a day are 2.
Okay.
I think that you wanted to do originally the 3rd one after Real Housewives of Potomac.
It's today, Sunday. Yeah, I'll just do that. Let's just get it over
just to get it out of just get it over with, get it, because this is going to, I know what this is doing to you. So I don't want you to stay in this place for long. Let's get this shit out the way, and and then live to fight more days, because
more days. You need to get a shirt. I'm gonna help James find somebody to make him merch that says "Live to fight another day." And
that's not my quote. That's from Friday. I can't
still put it on there.
No, because I don't need nobody coming around. I don't need
your mouth. You can. You absolutely can. All you have to do is add something to it, and I'm
gonna trademark it. No, I'm definitely gonna I'm trademarking. I have trademark watching my reviews. I needed to get that slogan and put it on a t-shirt while trying to watch my mouth.
Yes, that would be. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to help you get rich, friend. Trust in me.
I'm trying to. It's hard. They make it hard for us Black folks sometimes. They really do.
You're grand. You can do whatever you want. I truly believe that. But that's it, y'all. At least we ended positively. Feel free to comment your opinions in the chat.
Yes. But please, guys, be respectful, because these are our opinions. Our opinions based on what we see. I have personal connection with Mormonism. Mrs. Best also has personal connection with Mormonism. But we're not sliding that, and we're not taking it as, this show being personal. We're just looking at it in observation and giving us our opinion, because these are real human things that people deal with, aside from this being attached to a religion. So please keep that in mind, and please just honor us. Let us have our opinions. Regardless if you think it's right or wrong, those circumstances, those situations are already wrong. That happened in this episode.
And we've stated, we know that not all people who follow and practice Mormonism are participating in egregious behaviors and things like that. Some people are really just trying to be the best version of themselves, and they are entitled to do that. And it's not their fault that members of their church act a fool. Because I know I stopped going to church because members of the church was acting in ways that made me feel ungodly. But
same. So, but no, I'm just saying, we know, that's a good point to bring up. I don't have any issue with this religion other than harming people. Whatever y'all practice, that's fine. It's completely fine with me. Just don't hurt nobody in the process. Every life should be pure and on this earth to do whatever they want, as long as they're not harming people in the process.
They're not harming you, then mind your fucking business.
Yes, please.
I need to turn my AC on, which is crazy because it's raining. But that is it, y'all. Please head over to James's channel. We are going to be going over. We're going to be going over Love and Marriage Huntsville, which I did fall asleep on. But
you too? Oh, I thought it was just me. Okay.
I be up early, and usually I on the shows and be entertained and be up. I always watch my shows the next day in the morning. I fell asleep. I had to rewind it. Then I fell asleep again, and I had to But we go ahead into James's channel because he does a really good job at making a shitty show.
I'm gonna try.
The recap is good. But yeah, tap in. We'll see you guys next time. Love and light to everybody. Be nice to Mormons, and I'll see you next time. Adios.